Hello, everyone. This is Mike.
I'm Jay.
Your old pal Shaner.
And I'm AJ.
And this is the Eternia FOUR.
Happy Halloween.
Topic number 1. The Ultimate Masters Universe Fan Convention is coming this May 2026. What? It's called MOTUNIVERSE. First, fueled by a dream, and then partnered with a toy fanatic, powered by a He-Man hub, and cheered on by an animation guru. This Ultimate He-Man and She-Ra fan celebration will unite on Memorial Day weekend, May 23rd and 24th at the Torrance Marriott in Redondo Beach, California, to celebrate everything Masters of the Universe. Currently in a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign through November 15th, answering strictly as a fan, not an event organizers, guys. What type of celebrity guest, panel, or contest would you want to see most at MOTUNIVERSE above all? What would your ultimate dream be? Of course, I got to lead this off with my PIC on this project, Mr. Mega J Retro.
throw me under the bus here. As a fan, wow, that's crazy. Okay, so if money was no object, I would definitely like to get together the cast of the original '87 film, but that would just be an impossibility, knowing what I know. But as a fan, I would definitely love to see any of the remaining casts, like whoever's left and able to attend. I would love to see them all together. Teela, He-Man. Obviously, we can't get Billy. We can't get. I think Man at Arms is a past as well. But Courtney Cox. Come on, Robert Duncan McNeil. I mean, he's a Star Trek alumni. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for cross pollination here too, right? So, James Tolkien is still around. Like some crazy names, and of course the Lundgren himself, the great Dolph. You know what I mean? And I was actually on He-Mania.com. He did an interview and let loose some crazy secrets. So you never know. We might one of them, maybe a few of them might actually make a trek. You never know. Maybe we can figure something out. But heck yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to pass this back over to old Shaner.
Oh, thanks. First and foremost, I just want to say how stoked I am about this convention. My birthday is May 27th, and I know you guys did that on purpose. So thank you for the very wonderful birthday gift. I now have a planned trip to LA, which is very exciting. But yes. As the animation guru, the panel that I would like to put together would be of animation people who were involved in all the various shows throughout the years. I think it would be really cool to get creators and directors and character designers and what have you all join together on a single stage and learn about what they liked about each other's shows, what they wish they would have done differently in their own shows, talk about how the shows have interconnected the lore and brought new audiences to everything. I think that it would be very nerdy, very niche, but I think it would be a very, for me personally, super exciting thing to watch as a fan and sort of take in, the processes and the thoughts and all the love and deadlines and long nights that went into making all the shows that we love so much. So yeah, that's what I would like to do. I am going to pass it to He-Mania himself, AJ.
All right. Well, first, you guys know that I am a huge Filmation fan, right? That's the shoulders my fandom rests upon. I mean, I love the vintage figures, but if I had to pick one, it was the Filmation show. Much like a lot of people these days that are starring in our movies. So if be honest with you, my dream panel would be something that can no longer happen. It would be the union of John Irwin, the voice of Filmation's He-Man, with Alan Oppenheimer, the voice of Skeletor. And that would have been a dream come true for me. Have them on a panel, have them like tell stories together, bounce things off of each other, get their autographs, take a picture with them, take a picture in between them. It would have been so thrilling. I would have driven to any con in the country. I would have went to a con overseas. I would have walked to a con overseas. I would have grown gills and traveled through the ocean 365 days beforehand and get there just to meet those two. But unfortunately, John Irwin was a recluse, and that never was meant to be, unfortunately. And it breaks my heart that he passed away. A long time ago when Michael Jackson died, I was a fan of Michael Jackson, loved his music, had some albums, people crying. I didn't get it why Michael Jackson died. I mean, well, I get why he died, but I don't get how people could feel so connected that they cried until John Irwin died. And then I actually cried. So then I got it. So I apologize to all those Michael Jackson fans. But unfortunately, that dream cannot happen. So my current dream is to have a movie panel with actors Nicholas Galitzine, Camila Mendes, Idris Elba, Jared Leto. Yeah, sorry guys, Jared Leto even, and Alison Brie and director Travis Knight, and have a huge movie panel and give fans an early screening of the movie. And that would be my dream, with discussions afterwards, then autographs, then photographs, and then plus a night of drunken debauchery, with the stars after the con.
Debauchery. Oh, wait, slow down, AJ. Wait a second, slow down.
I hear He-Man can drink a few. Put down a few. I don't think that's a sinister word as you're making it out to be. Debauchery? Maybe. Yeah, debauchery. I'll have to look that up again.
Nah, it's just getting into a little bit of trouble.
Just a little.
Yeah. So that's my dream, and let's pass it off to Mike.
Wow. All right. Well, AJ, you literally my answer verbatim was kind of going to be right where you were at. My dream panel also kind of can't happen. Like John Irwin, I would have loved to have him show up at a con and be able to tell his story. I've been blessed enough to be there and hear Alan Oppenheimer talk about his story. But if it was both of them kind of bouncing off each other, it was really cool to see Alan and Melindy going back and forth. If John was involved with that, I can only imagine the joy that would have brought me. Being that, unfortunately that can't happen, I think I'm kind of right there with you. I would want the current cast of the new movie. Give me Travis Knight as well. Give me the director, since he's a fanboy. I know he'd be loving it. And yeah, hearing how they made this possible after nearly 40 years without having a movie on screen. What was it like to bring that back? And, kind of the expectation. We're kind of a rabid fan base, if you think about it. We go for the throat, if it's not what we like. So there's a lot of pressure there. And I wonder, did the cast feel that at all while filming? That kind of stuff. I'd love to hear, everything that went along with the production of the Master Universe movie now in 2026. But while we're all sitting here thinking and dreaming about all that stuff, the reality is guests and panels do cost funds. And, that's why, MOTUNIVERSE, when we're talking about it, does need your help. It is currently kickstarting. It's got about 2 weeks left. We did hit our initial goal of 5,000. We actually surpassed our first stretch goal of 10,000, which allowed us to get breakout rooms. The space that we have is now secured, the venue secured, and we are less actually while filming this, just shot over 13,000. So, we are less than 2,000 away from hitting 15. Our ultimate stretch goal is 25. If you guys visit MOTUNIVERSECon.com or He-Mania.com, there are links to the Kickstarter, and you can check out everything for yourself.
Yeah, guys, guests cost money. And sometimes, to get a guest that you're aiming for your convention, you have to pay for their hotel room. Sometimes you have to pay for their travel expenses, which means airfare. And sometimes you even have to provide meals. So while we have been fantasizing, shooting for the stars here, to shoot for the stars for real, it costs money, like Mike was saying, lots of money. And that's why we all need your help for MOTUNIVERSE. And the Kickstarter, like he said, is already a success. It's already successfully funded, but we have those stretch goals to really make the magic happen, to really make the dreams happen, to increase the floor space, and to get those celebrities that we were dreaming about. I'm not sure if we'll ever be able to get those gigantic panels like we're referring to, but maybe we can make it partially happen, but we'll still shoot for the stars. But come on, everybody, we need you to back MOTUNIVERSE. Let's make some convention dreams come true. And plus, if you become a founder, you will be treated like royalty. We will be thanking you. You're going to be getting these t-shirts, these lanyards, these pins, all saying that you're a founder, and there's only going to be 100. It's going to be the glorious 100, like the 300 Spartans. Well, there's going to be the 100 founders of MOTUNIVERSE. And we are going to celebrate you. People are going to see you walking through the con. They're going to thank you because they're going to realize that you made this happen. You made this dream come true. And if there is a big dream panel, MOTUNIVERSE is very close to the Mattel building. They will thank you in part for making it happen. So please check out that Kickstarter link. It's on He-Mania.com. It's a big banner, appears on every single page. And you have till November 15th, midday. Don't wait. We need your support now because your support encourages more support, especially when we're close to another stretch goal. Someone will say, all right, I will do it. Please don't wait. Make these dreams come true with these this awesome group. I'm so proud of this Eternia FOUR. It's created such a bond and such a friendship. And we all, Shane's coming too. We all can't wait to be there and to be there together. And maybe we could we'll see. Maybe we could do an episode all together live.
There's going to be an Eternia FOUR panel.
Definitely.
We're going to go live. We're going to do it live. We're going to do live. All the mistakes, all the mistakes, all the bloopers. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be great.
Yes.
Since the previous episode, this is topic number 2, the Eternia FOUR, there have been some exciting reveals for the Master Universe movie coming from MGM and Mattel Studios. We're talking about that. I mean, the panel, fingers crossed. There was a cardboard standee was photographed at the LA Toy Preview Week, depicting Nicholas Galitzine and He-Man riding on freaking Battle Cat. Oh my God. There was a trailer description leaked on Reddit. Finally, there was a concept art of Snake Mountain revealed at the brand licensing in Europe event in London. It's been crazy. It's been absolutely crazy. And all these can be viewed on He-Mania.com for all the juicy details. And of course, people are wondering, where does He-Mania get his sources? What's going on here? How is this possible? AJ, inquiring minds want to know. But those answers will come forward one day. What did you think of all of these MOTU reveals? And did it get you more excited for the movie, guys? I'm going to pass this on to the He-Maniac himself, AJ.
Hey, we're all He-Maniacs. Yeah, all this pretty much got me excited for the film, guys. I mean, starting with that He-Man on Battle Cat cardboard standee. If we looked at He-Man, you can see, I think it was photorealistic. It was a little blurry to see. I was wondering if it was concept art, I think it's photo touched up. But you can see He-Man's windswept hair, which looks very cool. He looks terrific. Yes, just like that, Jay. I love the armor and the gauntlets. You know, it almost looks like he's donning an iron cross almost. I don't know if you guys have really zoomed in on that. It's really hard to tell, but it'll be really wild if he actually has the iron cross, you know, because we love it very much. We know there are some negative connotations with the iron cross, but we're hoping, you know, people realize it comes from a good place in regards to He-Man, and so I would love to see that. And then Battle Cat, he looks awesome, right? It doesn't seem inspired by one single design. You know, I can see a little vintage, I can see a little Filmation, a little 2000 and X vibes. I can't tell if his eyes are covered. If you guys see that image, and we'll be showing it during this for the viewers watching on YouTube, the eyes kind of almost possibly are covered, maybe not, and that might be a, you know, a 2000X kind of. Well, actually, that's more than 2000X. But you know what? No disrespect to 2000X. I'm glad the helmet doesn't have the helmet fangs, and I'm glad the paws don't have the paw armor that you see on 2000X. I was never really a big fan of that, but that got me excited. And regarding the trailer description leak, there wasn't much there, but I was excited. I was excited that Cringer was on Earth, and as the person who got to see the trailer described, you know, Adam isn't a fish out of water. His friend is a fish out of water. He said, like in the beginning of that trailer, he had to explain to his friend why a green tiger was there. And that's beautiful. The fact that if Adam is living on Earth, he already knows what Eternia was because, you know, he came over when he was 10. So it's not like it's going to be a shock to the system. So it's really a fish out of water in a way for anyone that was born in Earth. There was a transformation. I can't wait to see that. Fighting scenes, they described quick, like collage of fighting scenes. Can't wait to see that because we've all seen the Nicholas Galitzine sword fighting footage, you know, practice footage, and it looks fantastic. Even that is exciting, and that isn't even really the movie yet. He said that Skeletor looks solid. I don't know what to do with that information, guys. I mean, you know, as a descriptor, okay, he looks solid, better than shitty, I guess. And what got me most excited was that he said it had a He-Man feel, and the guy playing Prince Adam, he clearly didn't know his name, had that part nailed down, and that's the most important part. You know, the Nicholas being He-Man and Prince Adam, so that had me excited the most. And then finally, Snake Mountain. God, that's wicked, guys. Is glorious, you know. And I love the fact that there's two people standing on the tongue. I can imagine that Skeletor and that's Evelyn, and that reminds me of the Filmation cartoon, you know, where they were always sometimes Skeletor and Evelyn would be in the mouth of Snake Mountain. This one even looks even bigger, so it has that Filmation feel, but more so, and I just love it. So. All right, I am now going to pass it off over to Shane.
Thanks. So I basically agree with everything that you just said, AJ. I mean, nothing made me less excited. That's for sure. The image of He-Man riding Battle Cat, I mean, Jesus Christ, that looks hard as fuck. I'm just gonna say it. It looks rad, dude. I am stoked. I am stoked on it. I thought that Snake Mountain looked really, really cool. To your point, I loved seeing the two figures. Yeah, it got me really, really, really stoked. The only thing that we have actually talked about it on an episode before, but in the trailer leak, description leak, he says his biggest nitpick is that He-Man isn't ripped. He just looks like a kind of a built guy. And again, not less excited by any means. Again, go back and look at that. We'll show it. He-Man riding Battle Cat is just like sick, and I am stoked about it. But I agree. And again, we talked about it. I am a little worried about the size of He-Man. But outside of that, very, very stoked. I cannot wait to see this trailer. I think we even talked about a potential timeline for it too. So I'm hoping we get to see something much sooner than later. I'm hoping we get to see a teaser this holiday season, and then we get a full trailer early next year. So fingers crossed on that. And I'm going to pass it to ERM, Eternian Royalty might.
Nice. So yeah, I completely agree with what both of you guys were saying. Nothing made me less excited. I would say the trailer leak, actually, when it first dropped, and I pretty sure I mentioned this in the last time we talked about it, was I didn't believe it. I didn't think it was true. I'm like, nah, really? But it does seem to have some validity to it, and I'm jealous it wasn't me and it was some random non-fan guy that only like, yeah, Skeletor's solid. He-Man, he looked like a normal guy, but it's like, dude, come on, man, give me some excitement, give me something, right? But the He-Man riding Battle Cat, seeing that, actually, again, someone sent that to me and I didn't believe it at first. And then I was like, oh, He-Mania actually has got his little logo there. No, that's legit. And I mean, it looks so good, right? Yeah. And
where do you get this stuff? Where? People want to know.
I'll never tell.
The Snake Mountain, of course, that was really amazing. The two little people, like you were saying, AJ, the Evelyn and Skeletor, it's picturesque of filmation. I really hope that somebody at least falls off of that at some point in the movie. I think over the series, I want to say Trapjaw went over it, I think, once. Merman, I know at least once. Couple different henchmen went over that. But yeah, extremely excited. Every little tidbit, is just making me more hyped for the film. I completely agree, Shane. I really hope we do get a trailer in the holiday season. I think they actually mentioned like December will be something, right? And then, I'm kind of hoping we get a Super Bowl trailer, because then it's going to bring attention and awareness to it, where millions and millions of people will be like, oh, there's a Masters of the Universe movie coming out. And hopefully the trailer is like MOTU Revelation, where it's like, holy shit, that's badass. I won't drop the F-bomb since you want to keep it PG-13. Shane used our one F-bomb per podcast here. But it was effing awesome. And Mr. Mega J, you want to take us out on that one?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say I am effing excited. Like, seriously, I am. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think I've always maintained that. As far as what's been going on with the leaks, I mean, like, they really want to start testing the waters with this one. I mean, like, the photos, right? They weren't really leaks. They were actually more like invited photographers who were actually in the actual scenes, right? But it really set the stage, you know what I mean? And then, of course, the drone footage which we saw, and caught the glimpse of, the actual floor of Castle Grayskull with the mural and the history of Eternia, you know what I mean? The Jawbridge, which is just absolutely massive, and we know that these sets are going to be huge. All the Green Steel stuff. We possibly saw Skeletor and Evelyn taking Prince Adam captive. We talked about that multiple times. The cutouts are just like, proof positive. Freaking Battle Cat. Like, seriously, this is going to be absolutely epic. You had me at Battle Cat, by the way. And just everything I'm looking at and hoping and dreaming and wishing that, God, please don't be a stinker. Please, Travis, please just give us I don't even care if it doesn't have to be a great movie. It doesn't have to be a freaking block, but just give us a decent film. That's all I want. I just want something, and please make it no more than 10 minutes on Earth. That would be chef's kiss right away. Like, seriously, get him in, get him out, and freaking start the story. That's what we want. But of course, that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be the first act, right? He's got friends. They named friends in the credits, so it is what it is, right? You got to get those. You know what? How else are you going to get your Pepsi cans? How else are you going to get your Starbucks? How else are you going to get your Nike shoe placement? How else are you going to get all those sponsors in there? I get it. That's actually why they do it, right? I'm just kidding. But honestly, I am very, very excited. And, the supposed trailer, that thing, we're never going to see the light of day on that one. Like, not as he saw it. It's going to be a completely finished trailer. It's going to actually have all the special effects. It's going to be whatever it is. And who knows? This guy probably is a plant. He's probably an employee, just like shoveling this to us every little morsel that we get. Where are your sources, AJ? Where are your sources? I want to know, because you're killing me, man. You're killing me. But to say that I'm excited is an understatement. And if by some minor miracle we hit 25K, you better believe I'm picking up the phone and finding out where Ram Man lives. Like, seriously, we're gonna get at least Ram Man to the show if we hit our full stretch goal. So definitely 100%, I am stoked.
I don't think this guy is a plant, Jay. You know, if he was, Mattel didn't get their money's worth.
I was gonna say, for the descriptions he provided, hopefully they just gave him like a free hot dog or something.
And like Shane was saying, he did have a major nitpick. He wished He-Man was built more. And I actually thought of Shane. You know, I was saying a lot of people might want that giant roided out look. Shane. So, you know, and they might be a little disappointed how lean he is, you know, so we'll have to see. But I love the fact that Battle Cat's straps on his saddle, he had more than one, right? If you guys ever played with the vintage toy, did you ever have He-Man kind of slide, as you know, even though it was belted on, the saddle would slide on his body? Well, there's more than one strap across the belly. There's one across the chest, and this one looks a lot more practical. You know, if there was a real green tiger you can ride.
I will say, if MOTUNIVERSE doesn't make them, we should make You Had Me at Battle Cat shirts for our live panel.
No, you gotta get it right. You gotta get it right. It's gonna be freaking Battle Cat, freaking Battle Cat, freaking Battle Cat. You had me at Battle Cat.
Oh, yeah, on the back, you had me on Battle Cat. You had me at Battle Cat. Hell yeah.
But I'm with Jay. Please be good. Otherwise, I switch my dream panel to Jay's answer. The 1980s.
That's why the cons before the movie.
That's right.
All right, boys. Topic number 3. In the 1980s, the iconic Masters of the Universe toy line was not only known for their massive 5.5-inch action figures, but also known for their inclusion of stunning mini-comics, something the Masters of the Universe Origins action figure line aimed to recapture. That is, until now. The Cartoon Collection 2000X will be the first large Origins action figure line that will go without a mini-comic. So, how do you feel about this change, and do you believe the lack of mini-comics will impact the sales of these figures? I am going to go with MJR.
That's a tough one. Truly, it is. Because it would be easy to dismiss it by saying, well, there's a cartoon already, right? It would be easy to dismiss it like that. But then again, the current cartoon collection has many comics, right? So it is tough. On an economic standpoint, it's kind of ridiculous because at one point, even I'm just going to go really quickly on this one. At one point, I was actually kind of disappointed that the Origins shared comics between waves. I was actually kind of disappointed in that because originally every character had their own unique comic and it was thing. But that's a logistics thing, right? Like paying artists these days is very, very expensive. Even back in the day was relatively expensive, but realistically, artists weren't as well compensated as they are today. Today, artists are very, very well compensated, especially for sequential artists. So there is that part of the equation that, you know what, Mattel's looking at this and they're saying, okay, how much does it cost for one of these Minicomics to get produced? X number of dollars, which I happen to know how much it costs because, of course, I'm imprinting on the design. So I do know what it costs for an artist to even make as little as a five page illustration book. Then you actually have to pay the writers. Josh. He has to come up with these stories, and to his credit, he comes up with some amazing stories. By the way, guys, Joshua Sky will be a guest at MOTUNIVERSE. So if you want to find out more about the Master Universe lore and those mini comics, you got to be at MOTUNIVERSE. And Founders packages, we're down to 27 Founders packages, just so you know. I don't think it really will impact the overall collectability. I think people love Master Universe for what it is, and of course 2000X being one of the most beloved and forward versions of the show that so many fans attached themselves to. I think that the Mike Young production was really very well received. It's unfortunate that the time slot itself was very difficult to nail down, but they did make it to, what was it, 1.5 seasons? I think it was like something along those lines, and it would have been great to see where the final season would have gone, and maybe, and this is just me now being kind of bitter, maybe that could have been told in the mini comics. Maybe. So yeah, missed opportunity. Maybe. I think that's probably my only regret. Other than that, I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay with it. I think that as long as we get good characters, as long as and the thing is, they're investing a lot in these bucks. There are actually multiple bucks which cannot be reused. If you know how Mattel does their their MO, they try to use as fewer bucks as possible with as many characters as they can. And just looking at the deluxes alone cannot be reused. You cannot reuse Beastman. You cannot reuse Man. You cannot reuse Roboto. There's a lot of bucks in these waves that are unique. So I can see where the corners are being cut. But I'm happy to collect them. I'm happy to collect them. I'm going to throw it over to the Eternian royalty himself.
All right. First off, give Josh Sky more work. Come on. Was it, I've got to go back to the question. I know, let's put it this way. Was it disappointing that there wasn't mini comics? Yes. I would have liked to have more stories written by Josh, more lore added to the 2000X. That lore is one of my favorite lores of Masters of the Universe. Bringing in, that continuity first began there, and it really kind of set the ways for MOTU going forward into this new century, right? And I think it just came down to, Mattel, like Jay's saying, Mattel is a company. A lot of these bucks that were being made are going to cost a lot because they're single-use bucks. And I'm sure they sat down at a table and they're like, well, when we released these in 2002, they didn't have mini comics and everybody was fine with it. So they probably went that route and said, it was done before without mini comics. They can do it again. Was it disappointing? Yeah. And really, that's kind of where I would leave it. Is it going to affect their sales? For me, for the fans, I would think not. General public, I don't even know if they would notice a difference. They're just going to see He-Man and Skeletor, and they might get it, or they might not. I think the bigger thing would be the Mondo kind of competition more so than a mini comic competition, if I'm being honest. Because that's, your very high quality $100 figure versus a $20 figure. You can get the whole wave for one of the Mondos. That's where I think, sales are going to kind of tug a war over where people want to put their money more so than the mini comic. That's pretty much my thoughts. I'm going to pass this over to old Shaner.
Thanks. I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. So I am not collecting this line. So I am not terribly discouraged about the mini comics one way or the other. I will be honest with you. I did have the same thought that Mike just said about when the 2000X toys came out, they did not have mini comics. And so it didn't even I didn't even register it as like a problem. But that's also because I'm not collecting the line. So, do I think it'll affect sales? I don't. I think that everything else in the world going on right now is going to affect sales more so than mini comics. But do I think it stinks? Yeah. I mean, I love those mini comics. I think they're great. And I think Jay mentioned, it would have been really cool if they finished that last half of that second season in those mini comics. And, maybe just sitting here talking myself into it, if that was the case, maybe I would have been more inclined to get it. But that said, I don't think it's the biggest deal that Mattel is going to have to deal with. And I think that, as we're all talking about, every company right now is going to look how they can save money. And if that's a 5-page mini comic that you're saving on 2 staples and some paper and some artists and some writers, then yeah, they're going to take it. So kind of understand it, kind of lame. But again, I would, if I was collecting the line, I would still collect it if it didn't have the mini comics. So it wouldn't dissuade me there. Last but certainly not least, Mr. AJ.
Hey. Jay, you stole my thunder. You stole my thunder. I'll get there in a second. You guys, you know I'm hard at pronouncing. The difficulty pronouncing names. That's why I like Jay so much, because it's just part of my name, you know? And yeah, I struggle with Jared Leto. I struggle with MOTUNIVERSE. Kickstarter. Support that Kickstarter. So forgive me when I say Emiliano Santa Lucia, okay, who was part of the figures. Oh, I said that right? Hey. Who's part of the figures and the comics. Well, he actually commented the same thing that Mike said and Shane said on He-Mania .com's Facebook page. He posted underneath, he commented that the 2002 figures didn't come with the comics either. But then people started swarming underneath him and said the, you know, like the Super 7 Club Grayskull Filmation figures didn't come with comics, but the Origins cartoon collection that came with comics, and Turtles of Grayskull came with comics, and Transformers X, you know, MOTU came with comics, and Thundercats and MOTU came with comics. So why would they stop here? And then I think he kind of backed off, and he said, I believe it's a cost savings measure, and I would agree. He left it at that, but I would even go any further to say that's probably due to tariffs. And the fact that over 50% of Mattel's manufacturing is still in China. And I think they're looking at ways to cut costs. And plus, there's a lot of new tooling with these figures. So they figured this was a way. However, they missed a huge selling point opportunity, which I was going to get into. I was so proud of myself, and Jay stole my thunder, to continue the 2002 cartoon. Look, there was 26 episodes the first season, then they cut it half with 13 in season number 2. A lot of people felt gypped. I think they did some single comic to continue the story, but they could have finished the storyline with these comics, and I guarantee you that this would have been a selling point. Not just the figures, but just to get these comics and finish the storyline. This would have pushed people over the edge. It was a huge missed opportunity. Mattel, what are you thinking, guys? Other than that, you know, as a child, I didn't really like the mini comics. You know, they got in the way with me playing with the toy. You know, I'd be like, too much reading, especially as art and this gigantic couple paragraphs. Wasn't having it. You know, let me play with these figures, have some fun. But then as an adult, I fell in love with them, especially the Don Bluth ones with Alfredo Alcala. His art. Be honest with you, I really wish we went back to that kind of style with the one like illustrated art piece and then like the paragraph writing, you know, so there could be a lot more story content, and it would be my dream to have mini comics that way. But overall, I think it's a missed opportunity, and I think it's a bummer, and I hope it's not going to be the sign of the times, the sign of the future for the Origins line, however long it lasts.
I mean, they definitely got to keep them for the vintage that's going on. Like Multibot should come with one, and then, you know, all the vintage that are left. Too bad if, you know, hopefully they're going to be making him, and all those vintage, I would think. But you know, and I get why they had to do Turtles of Grayskull and all that. Like you're telling the story of why this crossover happened, kind of thing. Yep. Where 2000X is just another. It's continue of MOTU lore, not this weird crossover lore.
And I think they are going to continue it because Stingor just came with a brand new book written by Joshua Skye. And if you want to pick Joshua's brain about how he comes up with these stories, well, you got to be at MOTUNIVERSE, don't you? So, guys, please continue to support MOTUNIVERSE. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and it looks like also King Randor and Queen Marlena, the cartoon collection, the Filmation cartoon collection. I
So good.
believe I remember reading in the product description that they're getting mini comics as well. So hopefully it just stays with the 2002 line and it doesn't bleed over to other lines. You know, this doesn't become a trend. Topic number 4. A couple of weeks ago, Robbie Brenner, president and chief content officer at Mattel Studios, revealed some interesting info about Travis Knight, the director of the new Masters of the Universe movie. And this was held at MIPCOM in Cannes, France. The Mattel Studios boss explained that Travis Knight is a Masters of the Universe, quote unquote, fanboy, and indicated that Knight grew up playing with the action figures and knows the mythos behind them. So, knowing our new MOTU director grew up with the toys and was once a fan, do you perceive his fandom an advantage or a disadvantage to making Masters of the Universe a universally accepted and successful film? And I will pass this off to Jay.
Wow, no pressure. And hopefully I don't steal any more thunder. We'll see what happens. Just kidding. So, you know, it's funny. I feel like I answered this question a lot in my own head. Anyway, there's always so it's really funny because for whatever reason, what keeps getting stuck in my head is a few people continue to point to the idea that when Master Universe Revelation, when Master Universe Revelation was being when they were doing the obviously they were doing the tour, right? Kevin Smith was at PowerCon. He was on YouTube's and podcasts and wherever he could go. He himself would admit that I used to watch Master Universe, and fans, you know, a lot of fans would nitpick on the idea that he couldn't always answer simple questions about specific characters or some things. The reality about it in terms of like remembering characters' names and remembering characters' powers and remembering characters, I forget. You know, I forget certain things about characters. I forget how to pronounce certain characters. I forget certain characters and like entirely. You know, I'm not getting any younger. I'm freaking, you know, 4. God, I'm almost 50. So, you know, that is something in itself. Okay, and I love Master Universe Revelation. I love Master Universe Revolution. People who usually nitpicked on those types of things were people who did not want it to succeed, and I hated that it had to come to that. You know what I mean? A few misplaced words in a press release, and all of a sudden people are jumping all over it. Fans are oftentimes our worst enemy because we want something so badly that when something jeopardizes that, like for instance, being on Earth, some of us will just outright boycott it because we just don't want to be disappointed. And that's a damn shame. Because everybody who did not watch Revelation or Revolution because they had some sort of bias on it, and I'm gonna use our second F-bomb here, you fucking missed out. You missed out on a great, incredible story. And it's funny because even with one of the greatest animated transformation sequences of all time, people still say haha and like terrible. I'm like, you didn't even watch the show, so shut the F up. Okay, that's actually what I have to say about that. Travis Knight, I don't know if he was a Transformers fan. I don't know if he was, and I don't think anybody's actually said if he was. Maybe he said it, but that one segment on Cybertron, holy crap! Let's just say that anybody who's watched the Bumblebee film, no matter how they actually feel about the film itself, the one takeaway they always have from that film is, God, that intro was incredible. If we can get that in an entire freaking movie, I think we got something here, boys. But let's get off Earth as fast as we can. I'm gonna pass this over to Shaner.
Thank you. All right. So I always perceive creatives that are a part of our fandoms as being fans themselves as an advantage. I don't think that there's an inherent disadvantage there. I do think, sort of to some of Jay's points, like the way that I envision a He-Man film going might differ from the way that Mike envisions it, or vice, however you want to look at that. But I don't think it makes or breaks anything, because with all of these things, there are so many voices involved. There are studio executives that aren't creatives and don't know anything about He-Man. Oh, no. There are, many people weighing in on these things that can change the course, the final edit of the movie. You hear this happening all the time. It's why we get Snyder cuts and all these various things, because, again, there's a lot of money involved, and people who have control of that money like to make sure that their voice is being heard. So I do think that it is an inherent advantage. And I think that, I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes right now. And again, in hindsight, we know that there weren't any sequels. But if the movie can come out, and I'm looking at Bumblebee right now, and if this could be the critic consensus for our MOTU movie, is that Bumblebee proves it's possible to bring fun and a sense of wonder back to a bloated blockbuster franchise and sets up its own slate of sequels. I'm going to be stoked about that. I'm going to be super thrilled about that. Now, I think we're all going to be excited about that. I do want to mention one other thing that's a slight topic change here, but I am more interested to know if Travis Knight, I don't know if you guys know who his dad is. It's Phil Knight of Nike. His dad, I'm hopeful, can we get some Nike He-Man shoes? Can we get a collab there? Can we do a 2026 Oregon Ducks He-Man uniform for one of their games? That's what I care about. If we could get some Nike, Jordan 4s that are all He-Man themed, I'm all over that. All right. If we're going to watch the Oregon Ducks play and some He-Man unis, I'm all over that. And seriously, though, I do think that he is going to be a good director for this project. I think that, all the animated stuff he has done has been really, really wonderful. Bumblebee, again, to Jay's point, regardless how you feel about the movie, there is a lot that I think Bumblebee did to reinvigorate people on the Transformer franchise as a whole, after some really stale sequels there. So, yeah, I'm stoked about it. I cannot wait to see a trailer. I'm like chomping at the bit. So we'll see. We'll all plan on going to see the movie on opening night, and then we'll come back and we'll do an Eternia FOUR and talk about if we felt like it was an advantage or a disadvantage.
We gotta come together, and as soon as the trailer drops, we gotta do a full Eternia FOUR. Like, we should just do that one live.
Yeah,
just get our reaction live. I think that would be freaking great.
It'd be awesome.
Maniacs live right after the trailer drop. That would be fun.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna throw it to AJ.
All right, I'm gonna be a little controversial here, and I'm hoping Shane doesn't attack me on this one. So I think it could be a double-edged sword. I really don't have an answer for this in regards to how I feel about Travis Knight being a big fan, and because there's two sides to this coin. And let me use two examples. My first example, guys, being Amazing Spider-Man 2, the one that was directed by Mark Webb. And I don't know if it was Mark Webb, the writers, the producers, but I got to tell you, if these guys were fans of Spider-Man, if they were fans of that world, if they were fans of that universe, if they were fans of those characters, if they were fans of the villain roster of Spider-Man, if they were fans of Rhino, they would have no way put this Russian guy in a mech suit that looks like a gigantic rhino lumbering down the street. They wouldn't have disrespected that character if they were true fans. And that's one side of the coin. Now, the other side, I gave it a lot of thought, and something came up to me in regards to Masters of the Universe Revelation, which I adore. That maybe there's a flip side to the coin. Do you know, guys, when Masters of the Universe Revelation came out, it was promoted heavily as a continuation to Filmation. They didn't use the word Filmation, but they said it was a continuation to the classic 80s cartoon. And Kevin kept hammering it home. Everyone kept hammering it home. I don't know who was the one that said it was actually going to be the 131st episode, but somebody did. And Masters of the Universe Revelation is one of my favorite shows of all time, you know? And immediately once it started, I understood the storyline they were going after in regards to Tila and the sorceress and her lineage and so forth. And it really all clicked for me and connected with me, and I couldn't wait to see all these storylines continue because I was very familiar with that Filmation cartoon. I was very familiar with the lore. I was very entrenched into the fandom. But Masters of the Universe, when it was the most popular toy in the 80s and it was the most popular show in the 80s, a lot of those fans, even though they have this great warm nostalgia feeling for it, never went back to it after the 80s. They look back to it and said, oh yeah, I used to love playing with those toys. I used to, love watching that cartoon. But they don't know the lore. They didn't go on the websites. They didn't read all the reviews. They didn't buy the DVDs. And be honest with you, the 2 episodes that cover Tila to be the daughter of Sorceress, they might have missed it. There was no DVR back then. There was, they might have missed it or might not even remember it. So it kind of makes me believe that being removed a little bit, that maybe Masters of the Universe Revelation should have been a season 2. And a season 1 should have been that comeback that, all the fans from the 80s that haven't really explored the lore, don't even remember the lore, might not even remember the words Eternia, knows exactly what that means, that could get reacclimated to the universe long enough to see He-Man die and not see Tila take over and then consider it woke and blah, blah, all that's kind of criticism. So that almost makes me believe that, when you see it from when you see it from my perspective, it was fantastic. I was ready to go. I was ready to roll. But if you're not that deep entrenched into the fandom, were a lot of people ready to roll? Were a lot of people just immediately thinking He-Man was going to be replaced by Tila and had no understanding of the lineage, no understanding about her becoming the sorceress? I don't know, so I could see this somewhat as a double-edged sword, 2 sides of a coin. You have to be a fan to respect the lore, but you have to make sure you're not, I guess, too loyal to the source to forget maybe the bigger picture, and I say this with love because Masters of the Universe Revelation is one of my favorite shows of all time. But so I don't really have an answer. I think there's a balance, guys. I think you have to be very respectful of the lore, but make sure you're not sacrificing the big picture in doing so and making the most popular and accepted product that you can make. And with that said, I pass it to Mike.
Right. I'm going to lead off. My internet was a little wonky during your talk, so I apologize if I freeze. Hopefully we'll have to not run this multiple times. Travis Knight. I actually just looked up how old he is. I thought he was in his late 40s. He is 52 years old. He just turned 52 last month. So that means when Masters of the Universe came out, he was let's say 1982, when the toy line was starting to become mainstream, right? He was 9 years old. Perfect age for playing with toys, perfect age for learning it through the Minicomics. when the cartoon came out, he was 10. That's, again, perfect age for watching cartoons. He's old enough to retain it at 10, I would think. More so of like me. I was 3 years old in 1983, but I still watched the cartoon with my mom and stuff, right? But it wasn't until like 85, 86 did I really start to retain, the She-Ra and He-Man reruns more so than when they were first being aired. So there's hope there. I think, AJ, when you reported saying he knows the lore, and that's huge, because exactly what you were saying. I run into people now that I'm kind of streamlining and spearheading this con, right? People are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going on a live stream to talk about my con called MOTUNIVERSE. And then I have to explain to them. I said, are you familiar with Masters Universe? Oh, it sounds familiar. Okay, He-Man and Skeletor. Oh, yeah. When you say their names, they know. Masters Universe, not so much, right? So I actually kind of find it interesting that they're not calling the movie He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, because He-Man is much more known than just Masters of the Universe. But kind of like you said, I'm not a big Transformers fan. I thought Bumblebee was entertaining. It was good. But, Jay was talking about that opening scene and knowing all these characters. I didn't know who those characters were. So again, like, I feel like there's going to be hopefully enough fan service to where it's like, wow. Again, I think I just mentioned this earlier. There's going to be characters and, Battle Cat. There's a freaking Battle Cat. Like, we've never seen Battle Cat on a big screen. Give me an Orko, and I'm like, this movie could be terrible as long as Orko's in there. Just kidding. But I think if it's like what Shane said, the critics, they just say that it was good, and they can start a franchise with it and kind of build off of it. Then I think Travis Knight did his job. My hopes are high. I don't want to, again, I don't really know him other than that Transformers movie. I never saw the, what's it called? Something in the Furbo or something in the two strings.
Kubo.
Tubo.
Kubo. K-U-B-O.
What's a Furbo? Furby or whatever, right? All that stuff. But
what to watch Furbo?
Furbo. Not the it's the
Furby.
vacuum.
Furby. It's
Furby.
a Furby.
But
you're going all over the place. Get
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited for our convention that's going to be happening literally about 2 weeks before this movie. I'm excited for the movie. I can't wait for a trailer. Just like Shane was saying, give me the trailer ASAP. I'm chomping at the bit. Yeah. And I think that's it, guys. I think we're good, right?
Yeah. So another little fun fact, Leica, who did Kubo and all those stop motion films, Phil Knight owns that, and Travis Knight is the CEO of that company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like he's been in and around animation and stories for a long time. And cool. I think to your point, Mike, about Bumblebee, like I agree. I'm not like the biggest Transformers fan. I do know that it kind of reinvigorated the franchise of movies again. But what I was thinking about while you were talking about Bumblebee was, again, the amount of voices that are happening during a Bumblebee or a Masters of the Universe, where he is the CEO of like a studios where he can kind of, guide and do what he wants. I do think you see a vast difference there between the type of storytelling and the type of, canon and lore that they fit into some of these animated films that they do versus, your Bumblebee or your Masters of the Universe. So.
Right.
Bumblebee kind of felt like E.T., Transformers E.T. in a way.
Yeah, right.
Instead of Elliot, it was whatever her name was. So, but I did enjoy it. I don't think it did well box office wise, but I think it did well critically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's still the highest rated Transformers film out there, which is insane.
Yeah,
yes, with you.
I think it caught the imagination of the fans, and I think that it allowed for other projects to happen, and then not so much. So.
All Well, guys, we like to thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, I'm Mike.
I'm Jay.
I'm Shane. Go to MOTUNIVERSE.
And I'm AJ. Go to MOTUNIVERSE.
MOTUNIVERSE.
MOTUNIVERSE. This has been the Eternia FOUR. We're signing off.